Hi everybody, Sherry here. Welcome back to my channel, Sherry Jones Designs. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to take a men's shirt and turn it into a cute little thing like this. Isn't it cute? I tell you what, that is just the cutest shirt. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut those sleeves off, and it doesn't matter which side of the seam that you cut the sleeve off, just cut the sleeve off. We're just focusing on getting as much fabric as we can out of this shirt. So do buy a shirt that is much too big for you. The bigger the better. And we're going to remove the collar, and which we don't use the collar. And I suggest going ahead and cut the back piece out, but I didn't do that till later, and I should have went ahead and did it, but it didn't matter. So now I'm laying it out flat, and I'm trying to figure out here how long of a piece I need. And so I end up cutting it about 17 to 18 inches to get this blouse. But if you have a really big shirt and you want to make it more of a dress, or you want to make it longer, feel free to make this bottom piece as long as you want. You can honestly just add ruffles to it. You could take 2 or 3 shirts, hook them together in various fashions, and you make this a pretty little dress. It'd be lovely. So after I cut that off, I am going to cut that back piece off, which I should have done like in the first place, but you know, hindsight how that is. And so I'm cutting this back piece out, and we're going to lay it out flat, and I'm going to try to get the bodice piece out of it that I need. And so yeah, this is pretty tricky. I end up just cutting it in half and then using the back half. But here I'm going to show you that I'm at 19 on the top and I'm at 20 across the bottom. Now remember, if you're making this for yourself, you need this to be big enough for your bust line. So, you know, and to be as loose as you want it to be. So this will have to be according to what measurements that, you know, according to your measurements. I don't know how big you are. So this, I can't, you know, give you the measurements for yourself. So now I'm going to cut it apart, and I'm making this will end up being around a small to a medium. So I'm taking the front off, and I'm going to use this back piece. Normally when making this garment, I make this bodice piece folded, but because I didn't have enough fabric, I just made it single layered, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. So here's what I'm doing is I ironed it, and now I'm cutting on the fold this shape. And it is, the piece I'm cutting out is 3 inches high, and I should have made it, excuse me, I should have made it about 1/4 inch higher than it is, because I did end up turning it under. So my suggestion is, if you're going to turn it under, to make it a little bit taller, but you could make this piece, you know, you could make it longer if you wanted it to, if that's the look that you're going after. And so here I am, I'm bemoaning. I do not want to cut it in half, but I realized that I didn't have enough fabric to do it any other way. And had I thought about it beforehand, I would have included that 1/4 inch, but it ended up being super cute anyway, so it's fine. I'm like, okay, it'll just have to do. Now I'm going to take the sleeve here, and I'm going to cut the cuff off, and I'm going to split it, and that's going to give me enough fabric to make the straps I need and to make my ruffles. Because before, when I made this, I'd make it part out of a shirt and part out of fabric, but I wanted to make it completely out of a shirt. And that I was really tickled that I was able to do this. And I've made a lot of these, you guys. I've made them out of just fabric. I used to have a lady special order these from me. And so what I'm going to do now is show you how to make the ruffle. This ruffle is like, if you would fold it in half, one side is exactly the same as the other, and the entire thing is 30 inches long. And so what I'm going to do is show you here the measurements so you can sketch the design yourself. In the center we have 4 inches. Now if you're going to turn this under and you want it to look exactly the same, you're going to make it 4 1/4. However, if you want the ruffle to be wider, like I originally had it wider than this, like let's say you want a 6-inch ruffle, then you make it wider. So now it at about 5 inches is about the center of my little angle here, and it starts off a little over 1 inch. So I think that's a pretty easy angle to sketch out. So my suggestion is to just get you a piece of packing paper, and if it takes a couple sketches, then you know it's not too hard. So now what I'm going to do is I'm cutting my strips the width of the widest width of my ruffle, and then I'm going to cut the shape of the ruffle out of those strips. So see here, I'm going to make it as wide as the widest part of my ruffle, because no part of the shirt is long enough to make this ruffle, and which is why I had been using other fabrics like sheets. I would find vintage sheets and things like that, but it occurred to me that I could make this entire thing out of one shirt, I bet, and that would be really fun. So anyway, so here I am, and now I'm going to cut that, and we're creating the strips I need to make the ruffles. And because they're so ruffled, I don't really care if the seams land in exactly even the same places. So what you're going to do is cut the seam off the end of each sleeve, press the sleeve so you've got it as straight and easy to work with as possible, and you're going to cut your strips out of the sleeves, the 4-inch strips. And that left me enough. I was even able to make my straps, which is amazing that I got the entire thing out of a shirt. However, I think this design would be really good with mixing plaids and florals, or even plaids and another print of some kind. You know, you could do the ruffles out of even a lace. You could do, you know, there's all kinds of ways to make this garment really stand out, I think. And so it's very versatile, making it longer into a dress. You can make the bodice part longer and add more design there. And I want to show you there, what I'm pointing out there is that that piece I left is going to be okay because the angle will go around it and we'll miss it. So now we're going to sew those together. Now I used my serger, but you wouldn't have to here, and you could just straight stitch it and press it. And now I'm going to cut my angles. So what we're going to do, I made sure I had enough, is I'm putting right sides together. I'm not really being particular about where my center seam falls, or that seam that I made falls. You could make sure it was exactly in the center of the ruffle. It might be even a little more professional looking. I don't know there, but anyways, once I was happy with my fit, I clipped it in place and I cut it out. And here you can see that the clips worked really well. They work well to hold it in place. I didn't need to pin it. And I just cut it out. Now, if you're going to turn it under 1/4 inch, you would add that 1/4 inch here, but I'm serging mine. So, like I said, this ruffle could be 6 inches wide. You could do a really wide ruffle if you had enough fabric. But I was running, I didn't end up with a lot left because I still need to cut my straps to sew the ruffle to. And that strap, you're going to need a 3-inch by 18-inch piece for your strap. So I was like, oh boy. I started to use that back piece. I'm like, the plaid isn't going the right way. And I had just enough in the sleeves that I had cut off to create my strap. And I made sure, I clipped them and made sure I had enough. But yeah, absolutely was enough. And so I trimmed them, and first I did it with the scissors, and I'm like, I couldn't even drive straight with my scissors. I don't know, not awake or something. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to just go ahead and use my quilting ruler and my cutter, and I'm going to make these straight. It's so much easier if you actually do make all your seams on this one straight. I learned that, like I said, I used to make a bunch of these. And I learned it is so much faster just to go ahead and give yourself straight edges, and it looks more professional as well. So after cutting my straps, I cut them to 18 inches length, but then later on I did cut them down to 17 inches because I did remember that the person I made these for said they were just too long, and she was a medium, so that's what this is. So I was like, I'm just going to do this. But, I have people have commented in the comment section that they have one shoulder they need longer than the other, the straps. So now I'm putting them right sides together, and I am sewing down each side. Normally I do this with a serger. I was going to do it all on the machine, but then I just changed my mind. I'm like, I'm going to sell this, and it's so much more durable when I make it with the serger. But that doesn't mean you can't make this with a sewing machine. You absolutely can make this design with a sewing machine. You don't have to have a serger. Just use zigzag where I use the serger. So now I've serged the top and I'm turning it under 1/4 of an inch. Usually this piece is doubled. Like I usually have a doubled piece for this, but I simply didn't have enough fabric in this shirt to do it that way. And it came out fine, guys, and actually would be lighter and cooler to wear. So I may just do it this way from now on. Just make it 1/4 inch taller and turn it under that 1/4 of an inch. So after that, and I did end up pressing that, is what I did is you fold it in half and you mark your center points, and you want to mark it front and back on the center. That's going to give you something to guide you to place your straps, because you're going to have to measure out on both sides to get your straps placed correctly. And this part here, do take your time, man. 1/4 of an inch, even 1/4 of an inch to a 1/2 inch can throw this all off. I've had to take several apart because I just didn't take my time here. And so I suggest really taking your time, making sure that you've got that centered the way it should be. And then I'm going to take my straps. Now I leave them folded and I run one side through the serger. But if you don't have a serger, I suggest making a tube and putting right sides together. Make your tube, turn the tube inside out, and then top stitch it. It would look really nice, probably even better than with the serger. And then I top stitched the side I didn't serge. And now we're on to the ruffle. I've serged all my edges on the ruffle. For you, you would just zigzag and turn it under, or just turn it under 1/4 of an inch on the curved side, and then not even worry about the other side and sew it in place because it's sewn under the strap. It wouldn't matter. So, but the way I've been doing it is I've serged all my edges, and then I mark the center on my strap, and then I mark the center on the ruffle that you're going to be attaching, because you want an even amount on both sides. You know, you don't want, like on your ruffle, you don't want all the ruffling to be on like the front of the garment and nothing on the back. You know, you want your ruffling to be even. And then this is where I remembered that my strap would be too long, so I trimmed a little bit off each and made it about 17 inches total. And then by the time you stick a 1/2 inch or so underneath, most of my garments are around 7.5 inches, and then of course folded, but folded 7.5 inches is about the right width that you want that strap. I mean length, the length that you want that strap to be. And I've learned that over time, and people will like, your strap was too long. And so it's just something I've learned over time, that it fits most people. Now, if you're making it for yourself, what I would do is leave the full 18 inches, sew the strap, sew everything on the back side of the garment once you complete your ruffle and sew it on. Then make sure on the front, use safety pins and pin it to the right length. So you're going to start your ruffle. You're going to have the right side up on your ruffle, and what you're going to do is you are going to finger gather it, or if you prefer other gathering, do that, but gather it underneath your top strap. And this will create that cute little design that makes it, and you know, you could even use this top portion to make a cute apron, because it would make a cute apron as well. But anyway, so I just very carefully, I finger gather it, and I get the look I want. This would be so cute done with a contrasting fabric, maybe even a piece of lace fabric that you've or even a piece of lace itself. But if you use lace, remember, it's going to be the same all the way up and over the top. You're not going to have that angle. Whereas if you cut that shape that I showed you how to cut, you'll have that cute angle that I think just really makes it cute. So here I am just finishing it up, and we're going to do both of them that way. And it's just, I just love the look. I think it's really cute. It's really summery, and it's just adorable. So after you make them both, you're going to compare, and you're going to look at them, make sure you like the way they look. But you do right side up, and I'm finger gathering them and making sure my center points meet. And look how fast I am. I'm like a super pro there, aren't I? I love it. So now you're going to measure out, and I use, the measurement I use is 3 3/8 inch on each side of the center point there. But you know, if you're wider across the shoulders, you might want that wider. So make sure that that would work for you across the front. And you may be narrow shouldered and you may want it a little bit narrower. So if you're making it for yourself, this is where you would try it on. If you don't, you know, the pins can be dangerous. You can use chalk marker to mark it. Now I'm going to pin my straps all on, and then after I pin them on, I will make sure that the straps are the same length. But you're going to start at that marking, that 3 3/8, and you are going to just pin each one on. And then you're going to, you know, you're going to make sure, measure, you know, the old saying in woodworking is measure twice, cut once. Well, I guess we can adapt it to measure twice, sew once. So, but it really is I have had, I don't know, several, let's just say several times when I've had to take the straps off and start over. So this is the point where you really just need to make sure you've got everything where you want it, and so you don't have to undo it. Like here I thought, oh, it's 8 inches, and then I noticed I didn't have them exactly on top of each other. Just that quick, I could have had my strap wrong. So yay, I was so happy I had them right. And now I'm just going to sew back and forth across where that ends. Now I've done several things in the past. The lady that I used to sew this for, she liked a big button right there at the top, and it's really cute. You could do that. You could do, you know, and you can tell how cute these would be by alternating colors into the ruffle and the strap into different colors, or the bodice into different colors. It can add whole new looks to it, and it's fun to make these. You know, so I will be putting a few of this style into my shop, and in case anybody is interested. Now, one difficulty she did have is that the straps do want to fall off your shoulders, but in your sewing department they sell bra strap holders that you can use, and they might sell them in other places in the store, and I've seen them on Amazon, that you can use inside the garment. You could actually use a safety pin, but you would have to be careful it didn't come undone to poke you. So now the next thing we're going to be doing is we are going to attach the bottom piece. And guys, we are almost done with this one. I'm not putting pockets on this one, but you easily could if you wanted pockets on yours. And so it had some extra buttons at the bottom. I took those off and I used them as my little top buttons, and it looked cute. It matched all the way up. And I serged the top of this, but you wouldn't have to at all. You could just take and mark your center points. I'm marking the center, and the side seams and the front buttons are my other center points. And so now I'm just going to pin all my points to where they go. Here I'm going to pin the front, and I'm going to pin my sides seam to seam here, and then I'll just finger gather in between those points. It's super easy to do. This is really fun little garment to make. So after I get all that done, we're going to sit down, I'm going to sew it on, and we are almost done. I mean, honest to goodness, this just didn't take long, did it? So here I am. I've got put my needle in and marking my so it doesn't slip on me, and then we're going to finger gather it the way, you know, that it looks good. And then I usually, after I do a straight stitch all the way around, and if I look at it and if I like it, I will go ahead and do a zigzag as well. Any point of the garment that's going to get pulled on extra, I try to give it an extra seam. I want these garments just to be able to be tossed in the wash machine, lived in, worn like crazy, and just really enjoyed. Guys, this is a great way to use up men's clothing, and I want to thank everybody for liking, sharing, and subscribing, and all those things you do. Thank you so much. You guys are all a blessing, and don't forget there is a Discord. Grab the latest link, or it might not work. And until next time, guys, happy sewing.